Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Polina here talking to you a little bit about this particular new moon happening in Virgo on the 14th of September. So for now it's only the 4th of September, so I'm doing this remarkably early. And yes, also to extend a welcome and to say that if you'd like a 3-for-1 reading, I'm doing readings for 3 questions for the price of one at the moment. So have a look at my website if you're interested. I will put the links in the section below, and there should be a way to do that if you're interested. And also, if you have any questions, please email me through my website because I don't usually check the messages here and I don't usually look at the comments as well. I just kind of let it slide on YouTube, so I'm only really available through the actual official website. Okay, so the first things first, we are in Virgo. There's going to be Mercury conjunct the moon, although he's going to be in retrograde, and there's going to also be a beautiful trine between the Sun, Jupiter, Uranus conjunction, and Pluto. And of course, it's not going to be very easy for us or very welcoming, but there are some people that are going to have some brilliant new ideas and brilliant new shoots. The whole spectrum of Virgo is about shortcuts and being very direct. It is about being very new. It is about being very youthful and very kind of clinical in your approach. If you want to get the best out of life during this time, it is very, very good to do things very intensely and ask those harsh questions now. Is this necessary? Is this what I really want to do with my life? Do I really have what it takes? Is this good for me? So it is a little bit cutting. This time is like a little clinical. It's a little bit of a cutting knife. It's a short cutting sort of energy that I'm feeling during this time. And for a lot of people, it's not very easy and it's not very still because there is something very long haul and it is to no avail. So, for example, if you've been doing things a long way, if you've been trying so hard, if you do things in such a way that makes you feel emotional or disturbed, if you have a lot of disturbances in your body, if you have a lot of negative thinking, it is going to be one of those very harsh and very lagging times, and the burdens are going to become very obvious. And to some degree, it's going to be just one of those healing crisis type of times where people just say, I cannot anymore. I can't do this anymore. So there's got to be quite a lot of change and quite a lot of power applied to certain situations. Maybe you need new business ideas. Maybe you need somebody to help you. Maybe there are other people that can do things for you. Also, it might be good to understand if somebody else is better at something than you can do it yourself, or if you need to replace a certain service with another. So, for example, if somebody's been helping you with a certain workload and then you find that they're very unstable or the result is unsatisfactory, it's very cut and dry this time. It's just about replacing one thing with another. So it's very easy to also be re-employed or to employ people if you're an employer at a drop of a hat. And also, yeah, it's very easy to get fired and to get employed during this time. So it's not really about anything personal. I feel that a lot of people have a lot of backlog ever since Cancer. So ever since June, probably some people have a lot of emotional staleness and a lot of power hunger hidden behind emotional or even amorous behavior. So maybe somebody's crying or they seem like they really have their heart in the right place, but they're actually milking others for energy. Also, we have to understand where people are milking us for something. Maybe it is a resource, maybe it is time, maybe it is power, maybe it is compassion. So there's quite a lot of people that have been kind of groomed to be using others. And also we need to recognize where there are certain results that we have in our lives, and also certain thinking patterns that are not associative, and where we are also being groomed or grooming each other to have a certain outcome. So, for example, telling somebody, oh, it's all good, it's going to be fine, when you really don't believe it, or feeling really threatened by people and then not showing it, but then starting to make a backup plan underneath the guise. So people have different types of distance between each other. People also have different types of handicaps, and in a way, we don't all have the same treatment, or the same, I suppose, rules don't apply to everybody in society. So sometimes, depending on where you're from and how you've been raised, and what you had, even since you were a child, can sometimes control your work or control your life flow. So we have to be very, very aware and undoubtful here as to how far we've come, also as a society, as a species, to give people more fair treatment. But in certain cases, I feel that unfairness and a certain rigidity of structures of control and different types of behavior societally and individually are going to really take the toll. They're going to really take their toll. So in some cases, for example, if you've been born to a certain family or a certain community outside of certain means, you're going to really, really understand that and really hear about it, or, you know, recognize it. So sometimes there are no choices or no options in certain demographics or certain countries in the world, and we must not be fearful of that, but look at how far we've come. So maybe in some many ways there's a lot more fairness and justice than we even would imagine, in comparison to what life was like on this planet just not so far away, not so long ago. So in some cases, it is about being critical. It is also about being criticized. It's about critical thinking. It's about sobriety. This moon, this kind of moon, Virgo moon, is always going to give us the best if we are just sober and clean as a whistle, and wanting to do better, wanting to do a better job. If you're really intentional in terms of wanting to learn and study, wanting to be part of better groups, wanting to have more conscious, mellow thinking patterns, wishing to be greater at anything. Also, like, for example, greater in things that are personal and private, greater in love, greater in understanding your partner, greater in learning, absorbing information, recognizing what life is about, learning about God or learning about nature. It's a very, very good for you and fortunate time. And yes, also fortune is going to be next to Chiron and in the same sign as the North Node and Eris. So in Aries, fortune is always a good sign. It's always a big kick up the butt, as they say. So in a big sense, I feel that we are wanting to have more done. We want a quicker result. We want to spend less, and we want to achieve more. So in many cases, it is a functionality-based moon, and it's not just about function and also the fear of dysfunction. It's also about love and loyalty and a certain type of understanding of one another. So maybe in some cases it's going to be regret, and there's going to be some peace and a new state of compassion installed in some people's lives. So recognizing what compassion really means, what family really means to you now, what the goodness of your home or the goodness of your space really, really represents. And also we have to start trying to help other people and helping each other, listening to each other, and actually being available and being resonant with one another is exactly what I'm seeing during this time. So there's a lot more compassion than usual. There's probably quite a lot of having to do with other people anyway. So having to be next to somebody, probably having to play a role or play a game. And in some cases it is just about absolutely opening and seeing yourself, and also showing other people your wounds, maybe talking about your childhood, maybe talking about your problems, past and present, and to a degree also allowing other people to be part of your scheme. So letting somebody else infiltrate. So giving somebody else the keys to your home, for example, letting somebody else stay over at your house, even if you're not usually the person to offer, maybe giving some people advice or giving some people the time of day, and actually being open to making a real lasting friendship. And I'm not sure if you notice, not all people are like this, but many of us, as we get older, we kind of forget how to make friends. And those long lasting relationships and friendships that we've created since we were young kind of start to fade for many people. So the old relationships kind of start to tatter, and we don't really know how to make new ones. So that is like something that happened also to me. In a lot of cases, I see as we go into adulthood and go past a certain age, it's not very easy to make meaningful and lasting impressions or very, very good, hopeful, and absolutely transparent bonds with one another. So I'm actually seeing that for many, many people, there's like a new springtime in a way. There's a new spring or a sense of determination to make really clear bonds, either from existing ones or to make very clear friendships and to actually show what is on offer. Honesty goes a long way, and respect, and also recognition of how to use your energy and time. Let's talk about time. Let's talk about Saturn in opposition to Moon and Mercury conjunction. So Mercury naturally speeds things up anywhere he goes. He is in retrograde now in Virgo, but he's the happiest in Virgo and Gemini, of course, and to some degree Sagittarius. He also likes it over there. So we have a beautiful Saturn in retrograde as well. And there's lots of retrogrades in the sky. How about we actually go through these retrogrades first? Okay, so these are the retrogrades at the moment. Okay, starting from Aries, Chiron, Eris, North Node, and then in Taurus we have Jupiter, Uranus, and Sedna all in retrograde. Then we also have, of course, Mercury retrograde. We have the South Node retrograde, and we also have Pholus in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn retrograde, Eros, Chariklo, and Hygeia all in retrograde in Aquarius, and we do have Saturn and Neptune both in Pisces in retrogrades. So that's a lot of retrogrades. And I have to also note that things around the sun seem fine. So all the aspects around the sun are not in retrograde except for Mercury. So it's interesting because it's like a refreshing energy or a refreshing kind of edge, or maybe even a refreshing ending. But everything else is kind of stagnant and cowering. It's like disempowered, or it has no more force, or it is kind of bland and unphenomenal. Yes, but the energy around the sun is actually feeling pretty good, pretty fresh. But yeah, so let's return to the main thing of Saturn being in opposition to the Moon, Saturn being retrograde, and the Moon being next to retrograde Mercury. So, what can I say? I think the most important and flamboyant dream that you've ever had, probably since you were a child, might really show up. You might feel that really big feeling or that fear of an ending. So, for example, if you have been stagnant, if you've let your dreams be forgotten while you try to get on with life, there could be a very deep emotional sentiment coming through. In some people, there is a certain type of rebellion, but I can hardly predict a rebellion in Virgo. It's not like the most open time right now to really rebel, but there are going to be all sorts of people coming up to the surface and emoting. And there's going to be some frustration. So, for example, if you didn't really get your way, or you didn't get paid enough for your job, or you didn't really ever have the time or the courage or the space to do what you really loved, it could start to really be breathtaking for you. So, the most enormous idea or the most gifted concept can come through now. But there is something else. And that something else is territory, marking your space, being important to you now. You know, healing cycles, healing crises. You have to, for example, take care of an elderly parent first before you focus on yourself, or you have to always kind of start anew and refresh. Also, there could be a problem. So, for example, you wanted to build a house, but it keeps on raining, or there is a certain type of like afternoon that you get to do that one thing, but then the time runs out. So there's a limitation, and there's kind of a quietness amongst the audience or amongst the friends, and in a way, people are not fully suspecting as to who they are in the story, what their karma is, or what their true capacity or meaning is. So if you can imagine, like, for example, going out there doing something, but it becomes incredibly outdated very fast, or somebody's already done that. It's like showing up to a party and taking so much time choosing your clothes, and then somebody turns up in exactly the same outfit. You know, it's that kind of thing. It's like there is an ironic element to this time, but there's also another element. Maybe you don't know how lucky you are. Maybe you don't know how good you are. Maybe you don't know how correct you are, how true you are, how tuned in you are. So you need to be kind of also, in a sense, very careful, because in some cases we are not going to get a lot. And then in other cases it's just going to rain. So, like, for example, you are very automated, you are very, very dedicated or very, very delicious about some things that you're doing, and you're expecting that to pay off, or you're making a lot of energy in one place, but there could actually be an undercurrent or like an undertow or like a sheltering energy that's kind of protecting you from understanding the full picture of your life, but you actually haven't got what you thought you would. You don't actually have it. Like, you think, I'm very talented at this, I could do this, this is great. You might not actually have the capacity to do it, but you might have a completely different undertow and a certain type of also glamour, or a certain type of prestige, or like winning or lucky streak is there. You know, there is a gasp in the audience, or there is like a very connected energy or feeling, but it's not how you kind of put it together in your head. It's not how you laid it down. So in some spectrums of energy, it might not be all entirely right for you as well. So, for example, you have quite a lot to do, but at the same time, you're getting noticed for something that you didn't even expect you'd be noticed for yet. Maybe, for example, you would not do this now in your life, but for some reason, life or people, your partners, or like other people, they're kind of pushing you to go and get it done. So there is like a very, very interesting, whimsical way in which timing and knowledge and information and potential and concepts and talent, and also, I suppose, the spotlight is shared during this time. It is not how you thought. So that means that the context and the information are all good, but some of the time the mind keeps on going where it's not meant to go. So, for example, you are still reeling, you're still thinking about something, or even somebody kind of outdated for you. And then at the same time, although that's not wrong to do, you're kind of missing the point. But then there's a very, very nice warming, and there is a nice kind of stillness to this time, as I'm kind of feeling that there is going to be a very, very good and sincere depth. And no matter what, as the moon also passes, you know, through Saturn before she clicks to the sun, there will be a very, very nice recommendation, or there's going to be a very, very nice, tasty, and joyful ending. And sometimes it is in the realm of family, it's in the realm of warmth and kindness, it is in the realm of good luck and good wealth shared between community members. In some cases, it is about firms and conglomerates and even political parties and things that are larger like that. But I think in certain ways, there is a lucky, silvery, warm feeling to quite a lot of what people are able to establish during this time. But it doesn't come from this actually necessarily. The whole feeling that I'm getting about Virgo is about debt and karma, and the hidden meanings behind things, like behind the veil, behind the guise. But then, yeah, there's going to be a way that we can also be reinstilled where we were meant to be years ago. There is a way that people could start to pay us back in kindness and generosity where we didn't think anything would happen. Seeds might start to bloom. There could be a very, very, or to sprout, deep and emotional ending also, just in time, or with just enough thought and sorrow to afford a really big brand new beginning. So there is a very, very interesting release of tension during this time. And you, of course, eventually, as the moon stations directly on the sun, she will be opposing Neptune retrograde. So we're going to have a really deep, sincere, and emotional remembrance. We're going to have a culture return to us that is going to come from maybe a different space and time. In some cultures, it's going to be a very big revival. I feel that we're going to drop out of certain groups and certain political involvement. We're going to take care of ourselves better, and I'm really seeing the joy of family taking place during this time, and also the joy of finding your truth. So Neptune across from the sun and also across from the moon is going to be a very, very whimsical, romantic, and sensitive time, as there's not going to be many people untouched. In many ways, it is going to be a touching feeling. So it's not just about like form and functionality and snipping out the unnecessary details. It's also about kind of having certain things go on in such a way that actually makes sense to you and maybe also somebody. So in so many ways, I have a feeling that this whole time, this whole environment, like this whole journey that we're going through in the very earthy sign of Virgo, is actually not about holding on. It's about releasing and emitting or admitting and advancing through like a really kind of dopey and like sort of hopeful way. So this like very feely human energy comes through. This sort of warm, cozy, and comfy energy comes through by the end of this progress. And I feel that a lot of people will reach an incredible sense of intimacy and recognition. And what else can I say? I suppose that in some cases we are not going to fully get to know ourselves until the really like last minute of a story. I feel that there's going to be grand unveiling as to who these people are in your story. I feel there's going to be a huge character revamp in a story. So you kind of get to see how people are placed. You might get a lot of meaning and a lot of real advice or real advancement from anybody probably that is close to you in the game, and it's kind of like a TV drama. So I'm seeing quite a lot of this as very, very sentimental. Also, a lot of shadow is hidden, and it is just under the guise, just under the surface, not that deep actually. And then here we have a very nice sense of replenishment that we're going to sense as we come into the time of the equinox. And eventually, as Libra comes, we'll have a very, very big critical ending or a certain doubt completely resolved. So there's quite a lot of soft tickling and trinkling. Virgo is quite soft here, you guys, during this particular year. There's going to be so much unraveling and unveiling, and there's so much mystery and miracle under the guise, so underground. There is such a fair network of people. Now is really also the time. I will talk more about this in the equinox video. There's a very special time at the moment to really get to know and get really undoubtful about the full climax of certain global events also, but recognizing the time that we're in and to really, really get through to yourself and other people as to what it's really worth and what it really means to be part of a certain global movement, potentially in certain cases. In some cases, it is just about being part of a certain family tree. And in some other cases, it is just about being a truthful person and being a real believer. So there is a very, very real warm energy beneath all of this, and a very big truth telling, and maybe also a feeling that a lot of you matches to somebody else, feeling that you look like someone else, or you feel like someone else. So there's like this community and this kind of like kindred spirit feeling that this particular time of the year will surely bring about, as you might see a real truth or resemblance between people, and it might actually feel very nurturing and very good to be part of certain countries, communities, or like systems of education or just systems of belief, as we've come to an ending of the first half of the year. I will tell you why. So now I will end this video also with a lovely message. I've been making things, I've been making art. If you'd like, have a look at my Instagram. I have reactivated my Instagram that I have deleted, not deleted, disactivated because I just didn't want it. And also I've reactivated my Facebook, but I'm not like spending time on it anymore as I used to. I'm just basically using it as a tool to keep in touch with family and friends. So yeah, I've also been posting lots of magic and pottery and art and ceramic work and sculptures that we'll be making at home just to share. So if you want, you can have a look. It is potentially a career change. It is potentially a career change. But it's more than this, I think. There are lots of aspects and elements of me that don't feel like I think understood or clear. And sometimes making things, sculpting, crafting, drawing is something that really takes care of me. So I really find my feet in these territories. Anyway, so have a look. And of course, there's Patreon. Yeah, putting more effort in there these days. And of course, if you like, have a look at my page. And once again, if you'd like a special reading this month, I talked about the 3-for-1 situation at the beginning of this video to celebrate the equinox, I suppose. Have a look and feel free to book. Thank you so much. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time.